For Southampton Football Club, the start of the Premier League season hasn't gone too well. 4 games played and 0 points on the board. The newly promoted side are struggling. They do have a good young squad and a manager that's trying to play an expansive brand of football, but whether that's going to keep them up is another question. So today I'm going to step in as Southampton manager with 5 years, not just to keep them up, but try and take them to title glory. Now that might sound unrealistic, but I'm going to aim as high as possible with this club. We've got great facilities, a good stadium too, and whilst the club hasn't exactly won too many trophies in the past, I'm going to try and change that, and we've got some great players at the club already to help us towards that goal. Despite the end to his Arsenal career, Aaron Ramsdale is still clearly a talented goalkeeper, and another great bit of business in the recent window was the signing of Japanese international Yukinari Sugawara, and of course there's talented fullback Kyle Walker-Peters. So the club already does have some good Premier League level talents in it, but there's also some players with huge potential. Youngster Samuel Edozie could turn into a fantastic Premier League level winger. Cameron Archer is a striker with a lot of promise, and former Manchester City player Taylor Harwood-Bellis could be potentially captain material. Despite all of the praise I've just given the team though, Football Manager is predicting us to finish in 20th place, 700 to 1 odds of winning the title. It's not looking good as Ipswich and Leicester, the 3 promoted teams, are expected to go down, but thankfully we do have a pretty sizable budget where we might be able to make a difference to this team with 20 million to spend and £67,000 in the wage budget. I'm now going to try and make some extra transfers before the start of this first season to give us the best chance of survival, else we might get off to a rough start. And with this first transfer window, I was able to add some extra talents to the team. Now, I don't necessarily think we've completely revolutionised the squad, but I do think we've given ourselves that little bit of a better chance of survival. We did loan a lot of players out, but the only major outgoing was Gavin Bazunu. He's gone on loan to SC Freiburg in the Bundesliga because, as good as he is and as promising as he might be, we do have Aaron Ramsdale, who is clearly our number 1, so it made sense to let Bazunu go and hopefully develop out in Germany. Coming in though, I've decided to add some competition up front for Cameron Archer. I've decided to sign Karim Konate, the Ivorian 20-year-old forward, joining from RB Salzburg. He's got a £16.5 million fee, which we paid for him, and I'm hoping he can turn into a top-level player. He's got all the promise that suggests he could do, but we're going to need him to fulfill that promise pretty quickly if we're going to survive in the Premier League. But speaking of talents for the Premier League, Vinicius Souza was one of those in the Sheffield United squad last year that actually looked up to the level. He got relegated with the club, so we've now paid £12 million, rising to 13 for the Brazilian midfielder who's got a lot of all-round ability. I don't ever think he'll be a star, but the Brazilian should be a good squad level player. And according to the game, this is what our current best 11 looks like. You can see I am trying to play a tiki-taka system. A 5 at the back formation I thought would suit our wing-backs well, which is where a lot of our talent is. So let's run through what our best team is. You've met Ramsdale and Harwood-Bellis, but Jan Bednarek has been around the club for a while and is our other best defender. Next to him is supposedly Charlie Taylor as a good centre-back option. Kyle Walker-Peters occupies one flank, whilst Ryan Manning is supposedly our best left wing back. In the midfield, it's Adam Lallana, obviously club legend really of Southampton, coming back now alongside Vinicius Souza, our recent signing, whilst Adam Armstrong and Ben Brereton Diaz are good options on either wing. And then up top, it's Karim Konate, supposedly preferred to Cameron Archer in that forward position. And it's nice to see the game rating our signings. We're still predicted rock bottom. Because of that, I don't know if getting relegated would actually get us sacked, but we're going to try and avoid it anyway, so our squad is ready. In our first season, the only aim really is to try and stay up. Okay, season 1 is complete, and a lot of the time in these rebuilds we have drama later on where we win a title by the skin of our teeth or something like that, but in this Southampton rebuild we've had kind of the opposite effect, because as you can see, results were not good. Between November and March we won 1 match. It was a freak result against Man City, but we were just not winning games at all, and by the time it hit April we needed to get a big win if we were going to stay up. And typically we had to face off against one of our relegation rivals in Everton. We went to our stadium and took an early lead through Will Smallbone, before a second was added from a corner, Walker-Peters crossing it in and Jack Stevens rising highest. And much like that weird result against Manchester City, we suddenly decided we could score goals, Karim Konate making it 3, before a run from Charlie Taylor down a left-hand side found Konate, who slotted away, and that helped us on our way to a real important win against Everton. Now outside of that, we then did not win another game, so between the months of November and the end of the season, we only won won twice. So I think we can be very, very thankful that we have managed to stay up on 33 points. That is the same as Bournemouth and the same as Everton. We have survived by the skin of our teeth, but the 3 promoted clubs have all stayed up. I'm pretty surprised the teams that did get relegated, like Wolves on 25 points, but I'm not going to complain. We have survived in season 1, but only just, and we only just maintained our job too. Just to show you how weird the season was, we started a little bit slow, and then we were really good between September and October, and then we completely fell off. You can see how bad the results were, but clearly that early run of form helped us. The cup competitions, we were terrible, even losing out to our rivals Portsmouth in the Carabao Cup, but I'm not going to complain too much. The aim was to stay up, and we did so. Aaron Ramsdale being our saviour, really, our best player in goal for us, did so well. Meanwhile, Kyle Walker-Peters was influential all season. Yes, only 1 goal, but 12 assists would have been massive from that wing-back area. We had Bella Kotchap doing well when called upon, whilst Jack Stevens, Adam Armstrong and Jan Badnarek, with players that have been here for a while, Adam Lallana too, were really the stalwarts that helped us in our survival aims. But staying up does mean we can try and fix all the issues that we did have, because we've been given a Premier League level budget now, 47 million quid to spend, around 100,000 in the wages, so now this is where we can really kick the rebuild off, start bringing in our own players, getting rid of the deadwood, and hopefully making a team that won't be dragged into a relegation battle next season. And I feel like in Season 2's transfer window, we've absolutely overhauled this Southampton side, both with sales and incomings. But before we get into that, if you are enjoying this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could show some support by hitting the like button. It really does help the videos and helps push the channel, which is always great. And if you are watching and haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do so. We're closing in on 40k subscribers, trying to get that before the end of FM24. So if you can help me, that would be awesome. Comment down below what rebuild you want to see next. Every rebuild we do is based on your suggestions. And finally, if you want to check out my Patreon in the description, over there you can support me as a creator, but in return you will get access to all of the save files from these videos, season 1 through to 5 for every rebuild that we've ever done. So you can either join halfway through and try and do a better job, or continue the rebuild after we've finished our 5 years. So thank you to anybody who does any of those things. A big thank you to all my Patreons, as always. But now, let's get into the season 2 transfers. First up, leaving the club, Ryan Fraser has moved to Hamburg out in Germany into the Bundesliga club for 275k. I just wanted him out. A lot of these sales were quite minimal, but I'm just freeing up the wage bill, getting rid of players I don't want. So Ross Stewart has moved to Watford for 325k. Some of these players are quite harshly rated in FM, so I wasn't able to get good values for them. James Bree is another one. He's moved to Middlesbrough for a small fee. Joe Aribo goes to the same club. It's £1 million for him. He'll be still playing in the Premier League, but he wasn't featuring for us at all. Paul Onuachu has gone to play for Vigo out in Spain. Celta Vigo, that is. 1.7 million for him. It's another one where I just wanted to get him out the door. But the big sale, the one that raised most of our funds for the transfers you're about to see, is Aaron Ramsdale, who's got himself a move to Al Nassr. He was poorly treated at Arsenal, but now he's gone ahead to join the Saudi Arabian side for £62 million, which is of course a great deal for us. It's a great deal for him on 800 grand a week. Saudi teams do tend to raid goalkeepers for a ton of money, but I wasn't going to complain. That gave us a lot of funds now to reinvest in our starting 11. The first player I've bought in to help us is another Japanese player to go alongside Sugawara. It's Kanya Fujimoto, who we picked up on a free after his deal expired with Gil Vicente out in Portugal. Our scouts raved about him. I only sign players that my scouts recommend in these videos, and he looks to be a good player to have in the team. I've signed a new centre-back, Flavian Enzo Boyomo, a favourite of my rebuilds, I think, just because he is always so cheap. 23 years old, 9 million quid, signed on a release clause fee from Osasuna. We've got ourselves a talented young defender who can hopefully grow to be a Premier League quality player. I then signed Martin Bačarina, the Croatian international, 22-year-old. He's coming in from Dinamo Zagreb out in Croatia after a great season for them. 30 million rising to just under 15 for him, I think is another good deal to help out our midfield. We headed to Italy to sign our next player. Jacopo Fazzini has joined. He's a 22-year-old Italian forward-thinking midfielder who we've picked up from Empoli in Serie A. 30 million quid is the fee, again rising to just below 15, and I think he's value for money. But obviously with the calibre of clubs relegated last season, I was able to raid some of those for some great talents. James Garner was the first one. If you watch my Everton rebuild the other day, for some reason this guy in FM is just insane, so to pick him up for 20 million I was happy to do. Yes, it rises to 22, but he's versatile, he's got great ability both defensively and going forward, and he's got years to get better too. I then spent a very similar fee on Ryan Ait-Nouri, who we got on a cut price deal because of Wolves' relegation. 21 million is the fee from a championship club, and I think he is going to be be a fantastic option now in that left wing back spot. And finally, bargain of the window, Jared Brantwaite has joined us here. We've got him from Everton for, again, a cut price fee of 27.5 million. He wasn't very good for them last year, but we know the kind of quality that he could have. 6'5", a big defender as well, left-footed, will fit nicely on that side of the back three. Very happy to have him. Of course, we're benefiting from those clubs that got relegated, but we're not going to complain one bit. I've also loaned quite a lot of our young talents out, but this is what is now considered our best 11. Bazunu comes back from his loan at Freiburg, where he didn't do very well, but is now our number one with Ramsdale leaving, whilst our back three now features two new incomings alongside Bednarek. Ryan Aït-Nouri is alongside Walker-Peters in the fullback positions, whilst Bacharina and Garner make up a new look midfield. Fujimoto, Brereton Diaz and Karim Konate finish off the rest of the team. The Ivorian forward in season 1 wasn't amazing, 9 goals was his return. It's really not the best, so we might have to reinvest there at some point, but he is still our number one up top. We'll see how he can do, but it's going to be a tough battle again because we haven't really moved up the relegation places too much more. Burnley have came up and predicted better than us. We are still predicted 18th place, so we are expected to go down. 500 to 1 odds of winning the title isn't great, but we're going to give it our best shot anyway. Not to win the title yet, mind you, just to stay up. That would be the aim in season 2, and hopefully we can build from there. But now the pressure's on. This is our team. We spent over 100 million quid. We need to get some results. And this year, it's much like season 1. I can't really say we've done amazing or anything because we've really struggled once again. We are finding it a real tough challenge here with Southampton, but thankfully, there were some good results along the way, with the highlight perhaps being this game against fellow relegation contenders Burnley. These were the matches where we seemed to win. Armstrong did score a brilliant goal to get us in the league, and then tucked one away from the penalty spot to make it 2. As the game ticked on, we seemed to find our confidence. Armstrong again instrumental on the right, finding Karim Konate to add a third, before a well-worked move late on in the game found Walker-Peters on the right-hand side, instrumental as always, pulling the ball back, sending an own goal to make it 4. And that was about as good as it got this season. There was a little bit more consistency in results, but it wasn't exactly a spectacular year. But with all that being said, I think we can definitely be happy with a 12th place finish. We won 12 matches across the course of the season, and as you can see, outside of a random win against Liverpool, most of them are against the lower relegation level teams. So we're beating those guys, we're just not quite beating the teams that are expected to finish above us. Stevenage and Gillingham are pretty poor exits in the cups, but 48 points is 18 points clear of relegation. Middlesbrough, Burnley and Watford having a torrid time. It was a much worse Premier League this season. Good to see Ipswich still staying up and doing better than us actually, but this is a much better year. The highlight really was the extra goals from across the pitch. Jared Brantwaite had a brilliant goal scoring season with 11 goals, which I think is actually our best. No, it's our second best. Karim Konate scored 13. Adam Armstrong with 10, whilst Ben Brereton Diaz scored 9, so it's good to see goals from across the pitch. I haven't done anything special on the set pieces, so no idea why Brantwaite has done so well when it came to those, but we're not going to complain at all. He is a big boy, and that is probably why he gets so many headers. Fazzini not too bad with 3 goals, Boyomo pretty consistent at the back, so I feel like our signings have helped the team, but we need to keep pushing on. 12th place isn't good enough. We're 2 seasons in now, no real signs of progressing in the cups or getting to a European position, and we need to do that before we even think about winning in the league. 50 million quid is what we've got to spend, 100 grand the wage budget. We're going to see what we can do, keep improving this team, get rid of some more players, and hopefully make this a solid mid-table Premier League side that might be able to push on to Europe. And after the initial expenditure of Season 2, we have calmed it down a little bit, but saying that, I actually think we've made some big improvements to this Southampton squad. Leaving first was Nathan Wood, a young defender that I didn't really see any promise with. He's moved to Cologne out in Germany for 100k, a minimal fee. Same goes for Matsuki. He might be good in real life, I don't really know much about him, but here in game he just wasn't very good at all, so we've sold him on to the Japanese league. Kamaldeen Sulemana was the first person to really fetch us some actual decent money. He's moved to Germany as well for 4.1 million, signed for 24 million. It was a little bit of a waste because of the last couple of years he's not really done too much, but hey, he wasn't my signing, so I'm not going to get too involved in that. One of the unfortunate casualties of our team getting better was Ronnie Edwards, who just didn't really get the chance then to develop in the team. He played a little bit for us in Season 1, we then loaned him out to the Championship, and he did well enough that he's now earned himself a move to Ipswich in the Prem, rising to 8.5 million. It's not a bad deal. He's a promising young defender, but I didn't really have the space to play him as much as I would have wanted. wanted. And we've also seen Flynn Downs move on, who might be a good player in real life for Southampton, but here for us, I mean, he joined us, didn't really do anything in that first year in the Prem, so I loaned him out to Watford, got 3 million for the loan and then 8 million permanent fee after that from the club after they've gone to the Championship. So we make just over 10 million. I think not a bad deal for this kind of player. But then we get onto the incomings, where I think we've done pretty well. Alex McCarthy has left as our backup goalkeeper. He's got too old now and he has been released. So I've signed Dennis Seaman as our new number 2, but I think he could grow in to our number 1 ahead of Bazunu. 5 million was the fee. He's valued at around 30 million quid. He's got potential. He's a consistent performer, and I think given a chance, he could be a top level goalkeeper in world football, not just here at Southampton. I then splashed the cash on some extra options on the wing. So we bought in Jonathan Rowe, an English winger who is one of our best already. He signs from Norwich for 23 million, spent a year on loan at Marseille, did well there, came back to the Championship, did even better. Our scouts raved, we've signed him, and I think he's going to be a great addition to our flanks. But my biggest signing was Alberto Moliero, the Spanish wide player who we have picked up from Las Palmas out in Spain, did well in La Liga, and then went to the second tier and did well there too, really well actually. So we've paid a release clause fee of 27.5 million. He's a player that I think could be unreal for us if he really gets it right here at Southampton. So I think this is another window where we've really improved the team. And considering the team that we came up with here in the Premier League, I think we've much improved it now. Bazunu's in goal with Bednarek, Boyoma and Branthwaite, the 3 Bs at the back, and Bazunu as well, that's another B. I quite like that, that works well. Walker-Peters and Aït-Nouri are the wing backs, whilst Garner and Fazzini are supposedly our best centre mids. You can see the wings though have completely changed, with Moliero and Jonathan Rowe considered our best, and Karim Konate is still the man up top. He's still got potential to reach, he hasn't quite got there yet, but this team is looking much better than before, and it shows in the media prediction where we're now expected 14th place, 300 to 1 odds of winning the title. Coventry, West Brom and Leeds all came up, but what that progress means is there's now more pressure, because now we need to avoid a relegation battle. So we need to be finishing 16th, 15th or upwards, otherwise the board are going to get pretty tough on us and we might end up losing our job. But I think we've done well enough so far to earn a chance, and hopefully in season 3 we can prove the board right. Now look, in the transfer window I think we made some good transfers, but what you're about to see, it's nothing short of a miracle. This is like Leicester, maybe not as good as Leicester winning the league, but it is on a similar plane. I have no idea what happened this season, but things just really started to click for us. Because we suddenly started stuffing some of the teams we came up against. Even Manchester City here. Jonathan Rowe scored an opener in what was a 3-1 win. Jared Branthwaite were his highest from a corner in a match against Spurs in what was a 3-0 victory. And there were loads of games like that where we were just getting results that I would never have expected last season, and that included in the Carabao Cup, where for the first time we got into a late stage, making it to a semi-final. Our opposition on the day was Ipswich, 2 teams battling it out for a place in the cup competition, which would have been the highlight of their season, and we managed to get the win through Adam Armstrong. And that now meant that we were of course travelling to a cup final. Granted, we had to play one of the best teams in the league though, in Liverpool. And it was a very balanced match, a bit of a kit clash as well mind you, but it was Liverpool who got off to a flyer, Darwin Núñez down the right, finding Pape Mateta Sarr, who scored against Seaman to make it 1-0. But we weren't giving up that easy. In a packed Wembley Stadium, we came up the other end with 28 minutes on the clock, Kyle Walker-Peters finding Jonathan Rowe, who headed home. And the game was tense from them, chances for either team at a pretty minimal level, but in the 83rd minute, Larios played the ball in, Karim Konate headed home, and that was enough to help us win a trophy. We had won the Carabao Cup, not exactly our aim in this rebuild, but certainly a huge success. But all those games I showed you in the league earlier ended up with a huge league success as well. Because in what might be one of the biggest fluke seasons ever, we finished in 2nd place. Granted, it's not quite the title, but what a year it was. Considering where we were previously, around here with Ipswich on about that many points, we have suddenly jumped up and finished in 2nd place. Now West Brom having a great year with only 8 points on the board there, 1 win all season, so not quite a good season for them, but for us, 81 points is exceptional, the same amount of losses as eventual title winners Tottenham. Now we lost against some big clubs, we drew against some that we might have expected to beat, but 24 wins is so good, a great goal difference as well, and we have really just taken this team to a whole new level this season. Now before this season started, I did adjust some of the roles that we were using, and I also adjusted some of the instructions to be a bit more direct, but to suddenly get 26 goals out of Ben Brereton Diaz is insane. Karim Konate has now really turned up with 20 goals in this most recent season, a great year from him, but all around it was just top performances all across the pitch from top to bottom. And that really was a massive jump for us. Our budgets are staying about the same with another £40 million to spend next season. To be honest, I imagine season 3 was a complete fluke. But look, we've made it to Champions League football, we've won a Carabao Cup, it was a great year, and maybe we can somehow use that momentum and invest the money to make it so we are a team that can compete at that level on a regular basis. But only time will tell if we can. And in the Season 4 transfer window, we've once again gone pretty heavy when it comes to incomings and outgoings, I think, to really take this team to another level. But before I show you them, I haven't mentioned it yet in this video, but I do have a second channel now, which you can find linked in the description. Over there, I'm talking everything football, mainly about my club Chelsea, but about general football as well. Videos are coming soon on there, but we're getting very close to 1,000 subs, so any of you that can come on over and help me out would be awesome. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, make sure you do so. But let's go and see those transfers. And just to let you know, this season we actually made more money in sales than we spent. The first player going was Vinicius Souza, and I don't actually want to show you just how much we got for him, but I'm going to have to. He moved for £44,000. I don't know what happened, because he didn't do that bad to really shift his value that far down. He's obviously worth more than that, but then apparently even at Pumas, where he's gone, he's still worth that much money, so I have no idea, I don't know, but I just wanted to get him off the books, and that was the only offer that came in. Armel Bella-Kotchap didn't want to sign a new deal with us, and he only had a year left, so I've sent him to Freiburg for 500k. He's a good young player, and I think he has a lot of potential in real life, but here, just didn't really work out, so off he goes to Germany, to his home nation. Wellington was a player that joined us after the end of Season 1. I don't know if it's a move that Southampton have lined up, or our director of footballs did. He's joined on a free, and I've sold him on for 500 grand to Brazil, because he just is not good enough. Shea Charles was the next player to leave the club. He is a young promising talent that we probably didn't give enough chances to, and now he just wanted to go, so he's moved to Werder Bremen in Germany. You can see he played twice across the course of 2 years, so good luck to him down the line out in the Bundesliga. Dauda Traore is a player that I think could have a lot of promise, but again, I haven't really got the chance just to bring him in and give him game time. We're now competing for trophies, and I don't have time to do that for players that don't exactly look like they're going to hit their potential. He's 21, he's not quite there, so we've sold him on for a good fee to Leeds for about 12 million. God knows how he's worth that, but Vinicius Souza is worth like 40 quid or whatever it was. Yukinari Sugawara has moved on to go and join Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia. He's been a great servant for us, whether it's on the wing or at left wing back or right wing back, he's done it all, and now he's moved on for a pretty big fee of 30 million. Good luck to him, a huge wage packet, and he's going to have a real good time over there, I'm sure. And we got even more money from the sale of Flavien Enzo Boyomo. The French international now, not a Cameroonian, has moved across to go and play for Newcastle for 58 million. It is a step up for him, but again, we can't really reject almost 50 million pounds more than what we initially spent on him. After 2 years of playing fairly well at the back, I think that's a fantastic move for us, and a good move for Newcastle too. That did mean we had money to spend, but I splashed it on quality. Firstly, I added some depth. Sugawara leaving meant we needed some other cover at right wing back other than Kyle Walker-Peters, so Castagne comes in on a completely free deal after a decent year out at Schalke for him. Abakar Silla comes in as a new centre-back, 24-year-old Ivorian international with 41 caps at such a young age, 20 leadership, captain material down the line, left-footed as well, a brilliant player, signing from Strasbourg in Ligue 1, and hopefully he can keep up his progression here. We got him for a very cheap fee of under 20 mil. Another signing from France, we bought in Ousmama Targaline here. He is a 25-year-old Moroccan defensive midfielder, central midfielder, gifted with the ball at his feet but can throw in a tackle too. We've signed him for 19 million quid from Havre out in France, where he's been doing really well, particularly last season in Ligue 1. We've improved our options on the wing with the signing of 26-year-old Brazilian Luis Enrique. Our performance last year meant we were opened up now to some better opportunities in the market, some players that would be willing to join us, and he's only cost us 20 million, and he's been exceptional in Brazil, so if you can do even half of that over here in England, I'll be very happy. And finally, I've managed to bring in Levi Colwill from Chelsea on the transfer list, because he has not been playing at all since the first season. He's been playing less and less, and we got him for 28 million, which is not bad for an England international, a left-footed ball-playing defender who will slot very nicely into our defence. And this team now, I think, is pretty good. I mean, Dennis Simon is now our best goalkeeper. He developed a lot last year and had a brilliant season for us, only conceding 38 goals. Bednarek keeps his place in the defence, but will now have competition from the likes of Levi Colwill. Silla and Branthwaite complete it alongside Walker-Peters, Aït-Nouri, Fazzini and Garner in the midfield, whilst Rowe, Henrique and Karim Konate finish off the rest of the team. But what I like now is our bench is stacked. Our reserves have good players in as well, and that bodes well for the future. Now, the board want to see a top half finish, and we are now predicted that. A 9th place prediction, 50-1 title odds, show just how far we've came now in the last few years. years, we are just in there outside of your usual big six, Newcastle, Aston Villa, and then there's us, which shows just how far we've come. We are apparently on the same level as Brighton, so fingers crossed we can have another great year. Second place was a brilliant performance last season. Maybe we can one-up it and try and win the league. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but we're going to give it our best shot. And in season 4, I've kind of realised that last season was the fluke that I thought it was. We did not have as good of a year as that again. Nowhere near, really, to be honest. It was a good season, but nowhere near as good as that. But let's start off with our first foray into European football, where in the Champions League, we did actually make it to the knockout rounds, to the playoff round where we faced off against Freiburg, and we took an early goal. A brilliant start away from home, which we continued in the 22nd minute, Fujimoto and Walker-Peters linking up for a great goal from Brereton Diaz. Now that game ended up finishing 3-1 to us. At home we lost 1-0, but that was enough to make it through to the knockout round of 16, where we faced off against probably the toughest competition of all, Real Madrid. And at the Bernabeu, we got off to a flyer. Fazzini's corner got headed away, but only as far as Juan Larios, the Spanish player, smashing it home. And now you might expect me to say that we had a really good game from there and we won the match, but I didn't want to show you the rest of the goals because we lost 6-2, we lost on aggregate 8-3. It was a good attempt against a very good Real Madrid side, but clearly we're not at that level. But thankfully there was another cup competition where we done well in. Not the Carabao Cup this year, but the FA Cup, where we knocked out Brentford in a semi-final to set up a final clash against Manchester City, whose team has got better with the addition of Vinicius Jr. and he helped Haaland score. But we have proved in this video so far that we can actually get some results against Man City. Even from season 1 we were doing so. Ain't Nori found Jonathan Rowe, who got us back in the game and made it 1-1. City though obviously have quality. Rico Lewis finding Vinicius Jr. who tapped home from a couple yards out. But just as the half-time whistle was about to be blown, Branthwaite charged forward, found Luis Enrique on the wing. A pullback ended up finding Karim Konate, who made it 2-2. And from there, the game was a dead tie. It went all the way until extra time, where in the 94th minute, Brereton Diaz got down the left-hand side, pulled the ball in, Karim Konate tucked it away, and that was enough to help us win the FA Cup. Again, against all odds, against a very good team. We're a good team, we're not quite Man City, so I'm delighted to take home another trophy so far in this rebuild. But here in season 4, I think it's safe to say we're probably not going to win the league in this rebuild because we finished in 6th place this year in the league. Outside of the UCL spots, we've ended up with Europa League football, 19 wins, 10 losses, 66 points. Nowhere as good as the previous year, but great to get that trophy off of Man City, who would have been on a high, especially after they had just won the league. Outside of that, Ipswich have finally been relegated, which is unfortunate for them. They've done such a good job in their time in the Premier League, but they have gone. We are the only surviving members from that initial 3 that came up with Leicester as well. But here we are, 6th place in the Big Six now, Southampton. Goals from Jonathan Rowe, Luis Enrique, Branthwaite, Cameron Archer, and Jacob Fazzini alongside Ben Brereton Diaz have really helped us. The biggest disappointment was our man Karim Konate, scoring 3 times all year, but he was injured for the majority of it, so we're gonna let him off. But in our final season, that Champions League run has given us some money to spend, 80 million quid to spend, 90 grand of wage budget. This is the time now where we really just try and go for it, overhaul the team, and hopefully add one final trophy to the cabinet in our 5th year. And in this final window, I don't think we've gone too crazy. I think we've added some nice additions, moved some players on whose time it was to go, and I think we have improved this team. But this is the last chance I can ask you, so if you have enjoyed the video up to this point, please smash the like button. It really does help. But let's go and see who we signed and who we sold. Leaving first is Martin Baturina, a good servant, but he now goes to Bournemouth in the Premier League for 11.5 million. Joined us for 14 mil, did well for 3 years, so I'm happy for him to now move on and get most of that money back. And then Kanya Fujimoto, who he signed for free, has played well for us for a couple of years, has now moved on for 17 million quid to Saudi Arabia. So goodbye to him, and that gave us more money to spend. The first signing I think might be the best one. He was pretty cheap. It's our new number 9 from Vélez. It's £9.75 million midfielder Maher Carrizo, who comes in to really actually challenge Karim Konate. Cameron Archer's gone out on loan, so Carrizo is our new backup striker. He's an Argentinian international, and I think this could be a real coup for us. Ernie Engels is also signed from Celtic. He is a Belgian international, age 24, who they picked up from Augsburg. He's done pretty well for them, but our scouts really seem to think he was the best option that they could find in midfield, so I've gone for him. He's very versatile, a good rounded player who I think could help us massively across the course of the season in multiple competitions. But then our best signing is probably this man, Savio, or Savinho as I think he is now known in Manchester City's team, but he's a 24-year-old Brazilian international here. Obviously he's just joined City in real life. In game it did not work out for him, he never really played, so we paid 22 million quid for him. He's obviously going to get a boost in FM25 25 in FM24. He's not quite City level, but he slots straight in on the wing for us. And here is that final best team, which is interesting to see where it's gone to now. Simon is our best goalkeeper, and he is a very good one too. Whilst Taylor Harwood-Bellis, for the first time in this rebuild, comes in to our best 11 in that centre-back spot. Abakar Silla and Branthwaite finish up that area, with Bednarek now leaving at the end of his contract. Kyle Walker-Peters, Ait Nouri, Fazzini, Garner, Savio, Rowe, and Karim Konate finish off the rest of the team. Meanwhile, Levi Colwill makes the bench, Luis Enrique, Carrizo, Larios, Targlaheen. We've got so many talents in this team now, and it now means the season preview, they want top half. We're playing Europa League football, but we are predicted, drumroll, 8th place, 50-1 title odds still, not quite got any better for us, but we are progressing slightly each year, and now it's our chance in our final season to try and pick up a little bit more silverware. Can we win the league? Can we do well in Europe? Or maybe pick up another domestic cup? Either way, I'd say this has been successful so far, so I'm happy with it, but let's see what we can do in Season 5. And there we go, our final year with Southampton is complete. I will say, in the cup competitions this year, domestically it did not go too well, but on the European front, we gave it a pretty good go in the Europa League. In fact, having knocked out Wolfsburg in the quarter-final, we'd actually made the Europa League semi against Sociedad, taking a 1-0 lead through Harwood-Bellis, and then there was another corner later on at their stadium. This time Silla headed home. The other leg was a draw, so this was enough to get us through to a Europa League final, but we were up against a fellow English side in Manchester United. Now, we absolutely dominated this game. Man U had one shot in the whole match, and actually, as almost respect to us, they set up in the exact same 5-back situation that we did, but we were better. We took an early lead through new signing Carrizo, and then all the way in the 84th minute, we had a penalty. He tucked it home past Onana, and that was it. Man United gave us absolutely nothing up the other end. As you can see, the stats were all in our favour. They were playing a very similar formation to us to try and counteract us, but it did not work. We have got the trophy in the bag. A Europa League win, a European win with Southampton. It doesn't get much better than that. In the league though, we did have a better year. We've managed to qualify for a Champions League spot in 5th place. Man City win the title again, Spurs as the closest challenger. It's been another brilliant year for us. We have to be delighted with how it went. We lost 13 games, mind you, but we drew 3. We won 22. We gave it our best shot, not the best goal difference. That season 3 that we had was a complete fluke season, but this shows you we have made progress, even if not quite enough to get to the top. So if anyone continues it on Patreon, let me know if you can win the Prem. But it was a great year from a lot of our players. I mean, James Garner having a brilliant season, Ernie Engels doing well as well. Carrizo came in, scored 9, Jonathan Rowe with 16, Karim Konate with 14, Savio picked up 11, and overall it was just a very good year. Facilities wise, you can see we've pretty much maxed everything out that we can. We've improved the club's reputation massively, and financially there's money in the balance, there's no debts and loans. We've done all of this in the best way possible, and I haven't mentioned it much, but there has been a lot of young talent coming through that I haven't used so much that I didn't get the chance to. Tyler Dibbling, for example, a very promising player that I loaned out most seasons in this rebuild. But there you go, Southampton rebuild complete. Let me know who you want to see next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.